Welcome back to the channel. My name is KJ. Welcome to my adventures in fine living. Today we're going to be reacting to another new space in our fine spaces segment. I will be exploring things ranging from architecture to room tours to setups itself. And I recently just put a room tour setup on my channel about my PC setup and kind of general YouTube studio setup that I put together here in Taiwan as part of my migration over here from Los Angeles. That happened to go viral on Reddit. It's I talk about it in my latest video on my channel. So this is actually the setup that went viral, and that was actually my first YouTube video that gained some degree of notoriety around the internet, summing up to close to 1 million views across different platforms. Not my particular video. Hopefully you'll support me and watch my video, but around Reddit, around YouTube, people have made videos about it, including Random Freak P. Some magazines wanted to contact me to talk about it. Even Samsung replied and were impressed by my setup. So that was an interesting little journey I had, but today we're not going to be talking about that. I'm going to talk about PewDiePie and his $7 billion setup tour. And I heard that, I've been watching his videos for a while, and he recently moved to Japan, relocating from the UK, I believe, or from somewhere in Europe with his wife now, Martia, to Japan. And they've been doing these vlogs that I've been generally enjoying. All right, here we go.
Setup tour! It's finally time for my new setup tour, the long awaited.
Wow, okay, so he has a gym right here, and his setup is to the right. A pretty clean setup.
Setup tour! Setup tour!
Japan edition, welcome! Come in! It's finally done. It is done. Yeah, take it in.
It's pretty clean.
We're gonna buff all our stats in here. Strength, dexterity, intelligence. I know it's a bit odd to have a gym in
He basically
here,
put game stats onto his setup.
I've always wanted to have a proper setup, even though this is kind of tiny. I'm very happy with it. I finally got my home gym. This is a huge improvement for me. I really like it. To figure out this room, I was like,
yeah, home gym is actually kind of tough to have in an office space. I think one of the things is it takes a lot of room. First of all, you need a lot of room to put something like a whole weight system inside of it. If it's not weight system, it's probably something else, like a spinning bike or a treadmill or whatever. It just takes a lot of space, and plus you're gonna get all the smells and sweat that come from the actual workout.
I went with what I want, and what I want is a home gym setup. I know it looks a bit.
That's important. You always go with what you want for your setup. You don't want to end up in a place where you spend all this money on this kind of nice looking setup and you find out it's kind of useless to you. You want to balance out the form and function here. You know, not just all pretty or not all kind of things that you not necessarily need.
Desk as well.
Let's see what we have here. All right, so this is his desk setup. Looks really clean. So right here we have his PC. Wow, they're like nicely tied into this grommet, this hole right here. He has an Elgato light, kind of a 45-degree angle coming down, so that should provide pretty decent lighting. Again, it's not my favorite light because it's generally a setup where you have to deal with kind of a little bit of harsh light. Even though it is diffused, it's not the best quality light. I wouldn't recommend it typically in most cases. I think one of the things about this PC setup is he has I think this is an A7S III from what I've heard from his last video. Good choice, because especially when he's in low light situations, this is a great camera for that. It's probably the best vlogging / streaming camera you can get right now, next to the A7 IV, which actually I would recommend because it can also take photos. Man, his all black setup here is really clean, kind of nice wood finish. And he even drilled his monitor into it's not even a C-clamp, it's actually moving into the hole of the desk. So that's nice, makes it super clean. And then all these cables are nicely wrapped, and he actually spent time to wrap them around with this, I think that's a cloud lifter or something that links up to his mic. And then this vertical monitor is a little bit more spread out, so you can get this angle of the camera in. So I think he put thought into, you know, splitting his monitor apart so you can actually have the camera angle there to shoot him. Let's move forward.
Martia will know how long. I was going crazy trying to just find the right desk. A lot of them were just like kind of bad and flimsy.
Yeah, you know, even, I mean, aside from IKEA, it's actually really hard to find a really nice desk, even if you look for standing desk setups, and especially L-shaped size. You can't get something that's super deep or super wide. Oh wow, actually I just noticed that. Okay.
Put together.
Okay, so one thing you probably didn't notice in this setup is, his desk pad. He actually chose a desk pad that matches his desk setup. That's pretty cool. You'll notice this desk pad right here is a Orbit key large desk mat, which is actually what I use as well. It has these magnetic things that actually help him wrap through cables that he has from anywhere he wants, or just kind of keep things organized here as well as his desk.
I'm super happy I have an L-shaped desk. Finally,
yeah, L-shaped desks are great because, you know, you occupy a lot of your stuff with your computer, but then you need some place to just kind of think and write or put other stuff on it. Yeah, this is really clean. This is nice. Yeah, nice. A little workshop on the side. That's why you want to have an L-shaped desk if you want to, you know, kind of do a secondary. That's why I have an L-shaped setup, but it's a little bit more modular for mine where I can roll it out and just have an I-shaped desk.
I have the ultra-wide monitor, which I really like. Don't get me wrong, but I wanted to try out. I've seen so many people use like a portrait mode display.
You know, the thing about ultra-wide is I've actually been a early adopter of ultra wides, but I've found more and more over time, especially as I went wider to all the way to super wide with the 49-inch Odyssey G9s, they start getting too wide to the point where like moving things back and forth become a little bit of a chore. It's nice to have all your windows there, but on the other side, they're also kind of like narrow in terms of height. And so you don't get the amounts of pixels you need to actually see more things that you want to read through. That's why I kind of transitioned my setup into more of a situation where I have core stuff here, and then I turned my monitors into something more usable than the regular situation. Some people would argue differently, but I like it a lot. So I agree with this setup because as PewDiePie is a streamer, he actually needs 16:9. It works way better on OBS in that situation. Most games are more supporting of 16:9 ratios rather than, you know, your ultra wides. You can play some games in ultra wides, but definitely not super ultra wides. You can't play things like Overwatch on super ultra wide. It's black barred. And having the side monitors is actually easier to compartmentalize your windows.
It's usually kind of awkward when you have many displays, like where do you put the camera? So
yeah, so I agree about the camera. I actually have a similar setup to him where I put it right in the middle. So with my current setup, I also have it in a similar fashion to his. My screens are obviously larger than his, but this is generally I think a good solution because you don't want something way to the side or way too high above the monitors. I really like it. It's a clean, to the point situation.
No cables. I hate cables. Cables are the enemy. The devil.
Yeah, the more I grow up, I think the less cables I want.
No cables. You guys want to talk about cables with me? Check this out. Look at this. Glorious cable management. Yes.
Yeah, it's quite good management, especially as he runs it down these channels, and as well as having these little trays to manage his power supply. He actually did a really good job. I think he should be applauded for his efforts because his last setup was a little bit more messy, but this is definitely, I think because he's kind of establishing himself in Japan, it makes a lot of sense for him to be set up this way. You know, personally, I don't like these chairs because they're meant as racing chairs to grip you, and the back support isn't that flexible. So, but the nice thing about these chairs is that you can actually lay down fully. That's something you can't do with the higher end chairs. All right, let's see what that computer is. I can't tell what kind of GPU that is, but I'd imagine it'd be a 3080 Ti maybe?
We just had so much to do and set up that I just felt like I'm
not really an RGB. It doesn't seem like PewDiePie's a huge RGB fan.
I just got a custom pre-built one. It's good enough. That's just what I want.
Oh, pre-built. Okay. It's good enough.
It runs really well. It's way better. It's 32 gigabytes.
This guy, I can say that he as one of the like top 3 YouTubers probably, you know, competing against CoComelon and Mr. Beast. He's a really humble person where he doesn't like go overboard spending all his money on like the maximum he has. He really matched this black and white theme. I think it works really well. Makes it really sleek and clean, elegant. Black and white are typically, you know, from a design perspective, very elegant elements, colors to use for anything you do. I'm not saying that spending the most money in the world gets you the best result, but I'm saying you should buy stuff that, you know, has quality in it. And if it has a little bit more cost to you, sometimes it can be worth it because it's extended by its life, because it'll last. And it's also a very enjoyable experience that'll bring joy to you in the future. That's like my Herman Miller chairs. Like I want to save my back, and, you know, saving my back will save me thousands of dollars in my back pain for a very long time. I mean, I think that's what makes PewDiePie who he is. He's less about the aesthetics, and he's always focusing on kind of what can get him to work, what can get him to start moving, rather than just kind of making everything pretty. Because sometimes when you go way too pretty and kind of start lessening the functionality of it, then it becomes an issue where, you know, it's just like, oh, a nice place to sit, but, you know, you're not working. And I'm glad to hear that from him, because he is probably one of the most humble creators, because he's been consistent through uploads all throughout his career. He's been constantly pushing. It feels effortlessly, but I'm sure he's working very hard to put everything together. I don't know if he edits his videos anymore, but just comes to show that you don't need everything perfect. So yeah, that's the end of the PewDiePie tour. I think in general his setup is exactly who he is, and with any kind of setup that is built for yourself, you need to make sure that it represents who you are, not who you want to be to other people. And PewDiePie seems to be a really humble guy. He focuses on what he needs to do on a daily basis, and he expressed that in every part of his room, which I think he's currently in a state of his life where after he got married, he wanted to move into a more simple life. And I think that's why he appreciates Japan. He likes a lot of Japanese culture based stuff, just like I do, and he wanted to kind of bring that aesthetic to himself. I mean, he even called it the Japan edition. And he is in the moment of paring down his life to the bare happiness that he wants to achieve. So, you know, I think that's a recommendation for all of you who are building out your own spaces that you work from or that you play from. Focus on yourself, because when you love yourself and you know how to express that love for yourself in the things that are around you, then other people will appreciate you much more. Thanks for your time today, and see you in the next one when we talk about more spaces in the future or other fine things that I venture through. Thanks for following me. Please subscribe and like, and see you later.